So today we are going to study about the French Revolution. We already know what a revolution is. A revolution is a fundamental or a sudden change. Talking about the French Revolution was fought to overthrow the monarchy, the autocratic despotic rule of the kings in France. The French Revolution stood for the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This is what the common people sought for to bring in equality and fought for their own liberty in the country of France. We see that these ideas, the slogan that defines the entire French Revolution, these ideas were spread worldwide throughout Europe and worldwide and had an impact on everyone. Just like the defining slogan of the American Revolution was no taxation without representation, similarly, liberty, equality, and fraternity was the defining slogan and the defining ideas that defined the French Revolution. We see that the common people, they were also done with the monarchical setup in France, that they had to stand up in revolt against the monarchical setup. This is what the French Revolution is. Let us try to understand in detail what the conditions were which led to this French Revolution of 1789. France was ruled by the king Louis XVI and his wife, the Queen Marie Antoinette. The king and the queen, the royal members, they all lived a lavish lifestyle. They indulged in all kind of extravagant expenditures and they enjoyed all the privileges. While on the other hand was the other section, the other on the other extreme, the commoners who had no privileges. They were toiling, working hard, and they were just burdened with all the taxes. While the royalty seemed to be enjoying, indulging in all kind of privileges, and being totally indifferent to the sufferings of the common people. So this could not be taken by the common people as they were working hard and they were being exploited, burdened with all taxes, while the royalty did nothing to improve their conditions. This is when they realized they need to fight up against this setup, overthrow the monarchical rule, and bring in the general will of the people to work for their own development. So that is why the French Revolution happens. Let's see what kind of French society was there to understand the entire situation. We see that French society was basically divided into three sections which were known as estates: the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate. These were three categories into which the entire society was divided. The first estate comprised of the clergy. The clergy, that is the church officials, the bishops, and the priests of the Catholic churches, they all were included in the first estate. They enjoyed a lot of privileges. They owned about 10% of the entire land of France was owned by the clergy, the church officials. It belonged to the church. And they were just mere 1% of the population. And yet they owned 10% of the land. The second estate was that of the nobility, the royal family, family of the king, the extended family, the noblemen and princes and princesses and their family and all. That accounted for the second estate, and they were just about 2% or even less than 2% of population of France, and they owned about 20% of the land of the whole of France. Talking about the third estate, the remaining all the people, all the commoners, the bourgeoisie, that is the middle class, the artisans, the peasants, the lawyers, doctors, merchants, traders, everyone was included in the third estate. They accounted for around 97% of the population. Now, in this basic division, we see that the first estate and the second estate, they enjoyed all the privileges. They were not supposed to pay any taxes. In fact, the clergy, the first estate, levied taxes on people. 1/10 of the income was supposed to be paid to the church as a tax that was known as tithe. So we see that the first estate and second estate, they were totally exempted from taxes. They were not supposed to pay any taxes. All the taxes were levied only on the third estate. They were supposed to work hard, toil hard, and pay and shoulder the burden of all the taxation system, while the first and the second estate simply enjoyed the privileges and the luxuries. They were totally indifferent to the conditions of the third estate. So the third estate, the common people, the middle class, they all could not put up with this, and that is why they revolt against the first two estates. They decide to overthrow this setup where the first estate and the second estate would rule over them and control over them. We see that France at that time was under a lot of financial crisis. We had studied in American Revolution how France and Britain had got in a 7 years war in which France ultimately loses the war. So that for 7 years and entirely losing the war, that was a lot of loss of resources, money, soldiers, and it went into a lot of financial debt. Now, to meet that debt, there was a need felt to raise the taxes. Again, the first estate, second estate, they decide to raise the taxes. But who is going to pay that taxes? The entire tax is to be paid by the third estate. That is obviously not liked by the third estate. For anything, if they is decided for the growing expenditures of the second estate to maintain their court and everything, they decide to raise the taxes. And the ultimate burden is put up with by the third estate. This was not liked by the third estate, and that is why they decide to put up with a revolt to overthrow this monarchical setup, and that is why they had the French Revolution. This picture clearly depicts the condition, how we see the first estate, second estate, they are enjoying all the privileges, the clergy class, the nobility class, while the third estate is suffering, is being oppressed under the name of the law by which these people can impose any tax, any new law, and the sufferers were ultimately the third estate. Now, let us see what all causes were there which culminated and resulted in bringing about this French Revolution of 1789 in France. First is the growing power of the middle class. So we see in 18th century, the middle class, the merchants, traders, businessmen, and they all, become economically strong. They are becoming financially more strong. They were acquiring more wealth at this time. But still, despite the fact that they were becoming financially strong and acquiring more wealth, they were denied social equality and political rights. Despite the fact that they were now well to do, they could not become a part of the first estate or the second estate. They could not enjoy the privileges that were enjoyed by the first two estates. Despite the fact that they were gaining a lot of wealth and leading a luxurious life, still they could not become a part of the royalty. They could not be given high privileges. They were not enjoying the social equality and the political rights that were enjoyed by the first two estates. So this was not liked by the middle class, that there is no social mobility. Despite us making it big in our lives, earning more money, still we cannot rise up in the social ladder and anyway at any time enjoy the privileges enjoyed by the first two estates. Then the second factor was, so this inequality was not liked by the middle class. Second factor, influence of new ideas. The ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity, they were propagated coming up by philosophers like Voltaire, Rousseau, Montesquieu and all. So these became highly popular, where they realized they need to not put up with the unjust system, fight for equality, fight for justice, and do away with this unjust system. So the influence of new ideas also became a cause of the French Revolution. Autocratic monarchy. We see French king, he was an autocrat. He enjoyed absolute powers. His powers could not be questioned by anyone. He was supposed to be appointed by divine. He was ruling by divine right. That is, it is believed that he's appointed by God and he's only answerable to God. He need not answer the general public. So by virtue of this law, he enjoyed his autocratic powers, would make any law, whatever he would say would become the law, and it had to be accepted by everyone. He was not answerable, he was not supposed to be accountable for anything. So he enjoyed these unlimited powers, which was becoming a burden for the common people, for the general public, and that was not liked by them. Then the corrupt administration, the royals, they were living lavishly. They were indulging in all kind of extravagant expenditures. They were spending a lot of money on their living on their palace of Versailles, spending a lot of in their court activities, pleasure activities, and enjoying totally indifferent to the sufferings of the common people. For the for them to live their luxurious life, they were imposing new and new taxes on the common people without even thinking about them, how they are going to pay them or how they are going to be burdened by them. Indifferent to all this, they were busy enjoying their luxurious life. They were emptying the royal treasury and putting all the financial burdens of the financial crisis on the common people. So this was another reason that caused a lot of anger and resentment among the common people. French involvement in foreign wars. We saw that the was involved in the 7 Years' War against England, in which it eventually lost. So a lot of financial crisis, financial debt. It went into lots of resources, army, soldiers, money, treasury happened, and all the support that it provided to the American Revolution. We had studied in American Revolution how France was supporting America in its war against England. Just to take revenge of the defeat in the 7 Years' War, France was supporting America by providing them army, ammunition, financial help. And in return, though America colonies they gained independence, the France got nothing. So it was a complete loss of life and resources for France. It was unnecessarily getting involved in these foreign wars, which led to the emptying of the royal treasury and to the financial crisis in France, which put the entire pressure of taxation on the common people, which eventually resulted in this revolution. Influence of the American Revolution, then we see that the French generals and soldiers who had participated, who had gone in the American Revolution, they came back with the revolutionary ideas of the American Revolution, how they had won this revolution against the unjust rule of the Britishers. So they were all filled with this new enthusiasm that they can fight against this unjust despotic rule as well and overthrow this unfair monarchy and gain their own freedom and bring about a revolution. So these all causes came up together, which finally brought about this French Revolution. So we see that France was facing this huge financial crisis because of the 7 Years' War and its participation in the American Revolution, which led to huge crisis, financial debts that France was in. So the King Louis XVI decides to call for the Assembly of the Estates General, where the representatives of all the three estates they would assemble together and they will come up to a decision or a plan of action to tackle this financial crisis. So we see that it was last in 1614 that such a crisis had arisen that called for the summoning up of all the estates for this Estates General Assembly. So now Louis XVI felt that things are out of hand, so they need to come up with a solution, mutually come up to a decision. So he calls for this assembly. Now, the problem with this assembly was that it was decided that each estate will get one vote to represent. That is, first estate will have one vote, the second estate would have one vote, and the third estate would have one vote to represent. And of all the three votes, whichever way the majority is, that decision would be taken. So obviously that meant the first and the second estate, clergy and nobility, would always team up together, and the third estate will suffer. If they decided how to meet with the crisis, they would decide, okay, let us raise this taxes, let us bring these new taxes. The first estate and second estate would obviously agree to it because they do not have to pay the taxes, even though the third estate would not agree, but 2:1, they would lose the vote majority and they were burdened with the taxes. So they did not agree or like this idea of Estates General, and they were totally against this. So they decided to opt out of this Estate General, the third estate. The third estate, they go on to declare that we are not going to put up with this system anymore, this unjust, unfair things being done to us. They declare themselves as the National Assembly. They create their own National Assembly. We see in May 1789, the Estates General met at Versailles, but the third estate, they walked out. They did not agree with the terms, which was unfair to them. In June 1789, the third estate that is of the commoners, they meet separately and they declare itself to be a national assembly, that we are going to represent our own interest and we are the national assembly, accounting for the 97% of the population. We are going to be the national assembly. King Louis XVI, he closes the meeting palace, says that you cannot meet here. So they all decide, they meet at a tennis court, an indoor tennis court was, so they all gather there. They meet in June 1789, and there they decide that we are the National Assembly, and there they took the oath of tennis court, that it is known as, that we are going to stay together unless we formulate a new constitution, put up new laws as per to which the French government or the French political system will work. So they take up the oath. The Third Estate declare themselves as the National Assembly, and they say that they will stay together unless they formulate a new constitution for the working of the France. So after the oath of tennis court, the next major incident happens in on July 14, 1789, when a large crowd, it gathers at Bastille. Bastille, as you can see in the picture, is a prison where stands as a symbol of the oppression and injustice that had been done in the past by the French monarchy. We see several kings had locked up men without giving them chances of fair trial. So large crowd gathers here, the revolutionaries gather here. The main intention is to break into the prison and collect all the weapons and the ammunition that is kept inside. So for long hours, for several hours, this battle goes on between the guards and the revolutionaries. Finally, the mob manages to break open the gates, kill the guards, enter into the prison. They release all the prisoners, take away all the ammunition and the weapons, and they even kill the governor there. So this storming of the Bastille, it was one major turning point, or the major incident, defining incident of the French Revolution. It symbolized the victory of the people of France. After this victory, we see that people got boosted up. They were all enthusiastic. They realized that they can stand up against the unjust rule of the kings. Even the peasants are seen standing against the feudal lords. So in July happened the storming of the Bastille. In August, as we move on 4th of August 1789, in the National Assembly, the nobility and the clergy, out of fear and all the chaos that is going on, they formally give up their privileges, and finally feudalism comes to an end in France. On the 26th of August 1789, the National Assembly adopts the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens. This is a human rights document which advocates many rights to the citizens, like the right of freedom of religion, right of freedom of speech, and it also advocates separation of power between the executive, judiciary, and the legislative. So this is finally adopted by the National Assembly. The next major event happens in October, the Women's March on Versailles. We see that bread was a part of the main staple diet of the French people. In this period, we see that there was a huge shortage of bread and there was a lot of starvation problem going on. Eventually, they spread a rumor that the king and the queen who lived in the palace of Versailles, they are holding all the bread, and that is responsible for the rise in prices of the bread, why they are being sold at such skyrocketing prices. So these women get to know about this rumor that the king and the queen are holding bread. An angry mob of armed women, as you can see in the picture, they're all armed up. They walk from city of Paris to the Palace of Versailles. Palace of Versailles is somewhat 20 to 30 kilometers from the city of Paris. So all these women, they are all angry. They all come up together and they march from Paris to the Palace of Versailles, where the king and queen are there, and they demand them to immediately vacate the Palace of Versailles and return back with them to the city of Paris and stay there in the Palace of Tuileries. The mob does not trust the king and the queen anymore. They want them to live among themselves so that they can keep an eye on the activities of the king and the queen and not let them, indulge in any anti-revolutionary activity. So as these women march on October 5, 1789 from Paris to Versailles. They forced the king and the queen who had been living there to come with them. Finally, the king and the queen are forced to come back to city of Paris, and they are sort of put in house arrest in the palace of Tuileries, where the French revolutionaries keep an eye on every activity of theirs. So this event was the Women's March on Versailles. You can have a look on this map. As you can see that this is Versailles, the palace of Versailles, where the king and the queen were staying, and this is the city of Paris. So the women all marched here 20 to 30 kilometers and forced the king and the queen to come back with them and stay in the palace of Tuileries in Paris. So in 1791, we see another major incident happening in June. We see that the king and the queen, realizing that the revolutionary fervor, the conditions are not favorable for them, people are totally turning against them and things could get worse. They are in contact with the foreign rulers, with the ruler of Austria and Prussia, who were in friendly terms, who were supportive of the crown. So they get in touch with them and they decide, the king and the queen, to flee away from France and take refuge in Austria. And then with their support, they'd come back and take over their rule again in France. So they plan their escape from France and they take their flight, or they try to run away to Varennes, which is a place which was close to the border of France. So the king and the queen, they all dressed up as servants, as normal people, common people, and they try to escape. But again, they are caught by the revolutionaries, they are caught by the French people at this place, Varennes, and they are brought back to the city of Paris. They are again put in the house arrest in the palace of Tuileries. So their attempt to flee was again foiled by the revolutionaries. Finally, in September 1791, French constitution is adopted. We see that the oath of tennis court that had happened in June, there the revolutionaries and the National Assembly members had taken a vow to make a constitution. So finally a French constitution is prepared, which is adopted in 1791, and France is declared a constitutional monarchy. That is, now monarchy or the king is just a ceremonial head. He does not have any real powers. All the major decisions, lawmaking process is in the hands of the National Assembly. So there is establishment of constitutional monarchy. So finally we see in France, it is the representatives of the third estate who have taken control over the affairs of the France, the government, the functioning. These representatives of the third estate, they basically include two major groups. One is Jacobins and the other is Cordeliers. This is how the things are functioning. So we see after the failed attempt to escape, the king Louis XVI, he's kept at the palace of Tuileries. Now that happened in 1791. Coming to 1792, in April, France is at war with Austria and Prussia. Now when the revolutionaries obviously get to know that Austria and Prussia, they are providing support to the crown, to the king, and they might attempt to, bring an end to revolution in France and might restore the power of the king and the queen here. Or if they win the war, they might themselves take control over France. So to avoid monarchy from coming back in France, to avoid any foreign rule coming in France, the France comes up at war with Austria and Prussia. And surprisingly, though the revolutionaries, they do not have a proper organized army at that time, but they come to include all the young men in their army, all the people, because they want to save themselves, they become a part of the army and they go on to defeat Austria and Prussia in this war. In August 1792, we see that there's a mob that collects and it attacks the palace of Tuileries, where the king and the queen, they have been kept at house arrest. After they tried to escape, they were brought back and kept in house arrest. Now there's a mob that comes and attacks that palace and kills the guards. So the king and the queen, they are become quite highly unsafe here. So they are shifted to a small damp room, kind of a prison, which is attached to this palace. They are kept there now in a small damp room as a prison. Then in September 1792, we see that this National Assembly, first of all, elects a new convention. Now, what does this new convention do? The first thing that it does is abolishes the monarchy. On 22nd September 1792, monarchy comes to an end in France. Officially, now Louis XVI is no more a king. He is not being addressed as a king anymore. There is no system of king or kingship in France now. This new convention also goes on to introduce a new calendar. They all be trying to bring about all new changes. So a new calendar is introduced, although it is abolished later. Then it was found by the new convention that this Louis XVI, the ex-king who used to be the king, the Louis XVI, he was guilty of overthrowing the revolution. He was charged of treason, of making contact with the foreign powers, Austria and Prussia, and trying to overthrow the revolution. For being against the revolution, he's charged with that treason, and it is declared that he should be executed. He's executed with guillotine on 4th January 1793. So in January, Louis XVI is executed, and in the year itself, in October, the Queen Marie Antoinette was also guillotined on the charge of treason. Now, what is this guillotine? This was a method of executing or killing people. This became highly popular during the time of French Revolution. As you can have a look, earlier they had this method whenever execution had to be carried out. They used to either use a sword or an axe to, behead a person by striking blows. Now, it was considered very inhumane. So during the French Revolution, this method was highly popularized by guillotine, in which, as you can see, this rope was used to pull so that this blade would simply fall, and it was just chop off the head of the person, beheading in one blow or one strike. So this was considered less humane, and it became really very popular, and all the people were usually executed through this method of guillotine during the French Revolution. So were the king and the queen. 1793 to 1794 is referred to as the Reign of Terror. There was everywhere terror, fear, violence, and these were the measures that were used by the revolutionaries to rule over France, to gain control with no monarchy ahead. Now the revolutionaries were managing the France, and there was utter chaos, fear and violence everywhere. Robespierre, he was the head of the Jacobins. As we studied that the revolutionaries, that the new assembly now had two groups, Jacobins and the Cordeliers. Of the Jacobins, the head was Robespierre. Robespierre, he is the one who started this reign of terror, and it is believed some about 40,000 people were executed in this duration of 1 year. They were all guillotined. Anyone who was found talking anything against the revolution, who was not happy with the conditions prevailing, who was even for once sympathizing or empathizing with the king or the queen, he was immediately guillotined. He was immediately executed. So people were not given at all freedom of speech, anything. People were not allowed to say anything. Any suspicion over a person that he's against the revolutionaries or could be against the current government, he was guillotined or executed. Finally, this all created a lot of fear among the people, and eventually this brought Robespierre himself to the point of execution, and with his own death ended this reign of terror, and with this ended the revolution as well. You can have a look at the picture of Maximilien Robespierre, who started this reign of terror from 1793. So let us take a quick revision of the important events in the order that they happened. In 1789, when the revolution begins, these are the order of the, in May, they have the Estates General, where all the three estates come up together to find a solution to the financial crisis. On 20th June, the Third Estate declares themselves as the National Assembly and take the oath of tennis court to formulate a new constitution. On 14th July, they storming of Bastille, the prison. They break open the prison, release the prisoners, take all the weapons and the ammunition. This is the victory of the common people. In August, there is Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens, right of freedom of religion and freedom of speech. That all is adopted by the National Assembly. On 5th October, there is Women's March to Versailles, forcing the King and the Queen to come back to the city of Paris and stay there in the Palace of Tuileries. These are the events that happened in 1789. In 1791, then, in June, the flight to Varennes, where the king and the queen, they try to escape from France, but they are caught and they are brought back to the Palace of Tuileries, put in house arrest. In September, new constitution is adopted and constitutional monarchy is established. That is, monarch or the king is just a ceremonial head, a figurehead with no real powers. In 1792, in April, we see France is at war with Austria and Prussia, which it does manage to win. In August, there is a mob that storms Tuileries Palace. The king and the queen no more safe. They are shifted to a small prison, small room, which is more of a prison. On 22nd September, monarchy is formally abolished. King Louis XVI is no more a king. He is reduced to a commoner, a common person. In 1793, we see that in January 4th, Louis XVI is guillotined. He is executed on charges of treason. On 16th October, Marie Antoinette, she is guillotined. From 1793 to 94 is the Reign of Terror, which was started with Robespierre and ended with his execution, bringing an end to the revolution. Talking about the impact of French Revolution, we see that French Revolution was quite violent and a lot of bloodshed did happen, but it had a lot of major impacts worldwide, which could be seen. First of the impacts would be narrowing of the gap between the rich and the poor, the very cause for which the revolution happened. It brought an end to the monopoly of the nobles and the priests, the first two estates, and now the common people were no more to be the only ones to be burdened with the tax. Tax burden was now equally distributed among all the classes, estates of the society. So it brought down the gap between the rich and the poor, and it reduced the tax burden and the oppression of the poor and you could say the peasantry class and the common people. Then it also brought about the spread of revolutionary ideas. The ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity, they spread all over the world from the French Revolution itself. The French Revolution went on to inspire a lot of revolutions. The Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens, the list of rights, freedom of religion, freedom of rights, freedom of speech. These are ideas they spread everywhere and made people, realize that they have certain rights to fight for. Then the influence of French writings of French philosophers like Voltaire, Montesquieu, Rousseau, they also inspired Europeans and everyone to revolt, to put a fight against unjust tyrannical rule. The words of Rousseau, that man is born free but everywhere he is in chains, inspired people to break these chains and fight for freedom. Montesquieu, his idea of separation of powers, that how power should not be concentrated in any one particular organ, it should be divided between executive, legislature, judiciary. That is how the idea which is even borrowed by our Indian constitution. So we see that the French Revolution had a worldwide impact.